Hello, you've reached Samaritans. We'll be with you as soon as we possibly can. Please stay on the line. We're putting you through to a volunteer now.
Samaritans, can I help you?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
My name is Howie. Can you hear me?
Hi, I can hear you now, yes. Hi, Howie. How are you doing today?
I'm trying to explain why I am being attacked for being disabled.
Okay.
First of all, you have to realize that you're not talking to a human being. You're talking to somebody who's missing part of their brain because of a brain injury.
Okay.
So you're talking to a subhuman, somebody who doesn't have human rights. And when my deputy disappeared, I needed to have a wheelchair because when the deputy was living in a dwelling, I looked after the deputy, so I didn't have to travel far from that dwelling. But now there is no more dwelling, then I have to travel longer distances, and my wheelchair is not suited to that.
Right, okay.
And so the wheelchair that I require, it doesn't exist on the global market. In 2019, the rehabilitation engineer wanted me to use an electric wheelchair, and but as a brain-injured person, I can't live in a house, and also I haven't got the mental capacity to have an electric supply contract, so I couldn't take the electric wheelchair. But 3 years later, I got a deputy, and then with the deputy, then I could rent a house for the deputy. But even so, I was still unable to get my hands on this electrical wheelchair. The process to actually get that wheelchair was too bureaucratically complicated for my level of brain injury. And then, after 3 years, the deputy disappeared. And so I needed to have a wheelchair that was more suitable to my ordinary lifestyle, which is living outdoors without a dwelling and traveling longer distances, because if I stay in the same place for longer than 2 nights, people will start attacking me. And so I took the parts from one wheelchair factory to the other wheelchair factory, and I arrived too late in the evening, and I triggered the motion detector alarm, and the police were called. And and it has been explained to me by AI that the reason that the police have decided to attack me and prosecute me is because they are, the word is officious, and they are called out too many times. They are called out for very frivolous reasons, and the only way they know how to resolve this problem is not to punish the person who called out the police for a frivolous reason, but to attack the disabled person who's in a medical crisis, to try to get their wheelchair fixed on time, because midnight tonight, the 31st of July, is the final date that my business partner was supposed to have my wheelchair ready.
Sounds like it's been a very difficult situation for you.
And I haven't got the mental capacity to defend myself against the prosecution.
No.
And it's causing me a lot of seizures. And I got the 7th of August is a deadline, and if I don't get my papers across the table of the prosecutors by the 7th of August, no matter what I say, it doesn't mean anything. And I've got two problems. Firstly, I only need to defend myself against prosecution if I have a place to stay, and I can only have a place to stay with my deputy. And the deputy wouldn't want to live in a place where the police would come and kick the door down and steal all their property whilst they were away. Not the police, the bailiffs, I mean. And as a homeless person, I don't have any property, so I've got no place for the bailiffs to break into and steal the property of. However, if I'm supposed to be using an electric wheelchair, if I'm supposed to have an electric wheelchair and live in a dwelling, which can only be done if I live with a deputy, then it is important to deal with prosecutions so that there is no debt for the bailiffs to use to break into the house and steal all the deputy's property. I don't know if I've made that very clear. I'm finding it difficult to speak about that issue. But anyway, the deputy abandoned me anyway, regardless of the bailiffs breaking in when they were out, because they hadn't received any training to be able to look after me, and so they just didn't like me, and they couldn't cope. They hadn't had any training, and so they just abandoned me.
So did anybody look after you now?
I don't think the deputy even looked after me. I was looking after them.
Okay.
I mean, I was paying for everything. I was paying for all of their food and their rent. I think I did the cooking as well, a lot of the cooking.
Do you manage to look after yourself quite well then?
No, because without a deputy, I go and just ask restaurants for leftover food, which the deputy found very embarrassing. God, I'm very antisocial. I don't follow fashion. I find it a lot easier just to ask restaurants for leftover food.
Have you got anybody that helps you out at all? Any support?
Well, like family, they will cook and wash my clothes.
Yeah. Do you not live with your family though?
No, I don't know. My family, they can't abide me. I cause severe negative emotional contagion in their minds, and my mother says I shouldn't speak, otherwise it feels that she'd have a heart attack and die.
Have you got brothers and sisters?
Yes, my younger brother failed to stop the police and social workers taking away my daughter. And so she ended up being deported to a country where she's got no family and left homeless. She was eventually raped.
And how old is your daughter?
She was 9 at the time. And my other brother, he got a fiancée and wouldn't ever speak to me again. After I went to visit them once. They lived somewhere near Birmingham, and it was in the 90s, mid-90s. And then he said he didn't ever want to see me again because I cut the electricity to the fridge.
Was that an accident then?
I don't know anything about it. Why is his fridge electricity supply cut? What's all that about? I don't know anything about it. That's the last thing I ever heard from him.
So, do you not get any support then anymore?
Anymore?
Yeah, is there anybody that supports you? You've mentioned a deputy, but they're no longer with you.
Yeah,
Is there anybody else?
But I was supporting them.
Right.
They weren't doing much to support me.
You manage?
Yeah, well, I mean, just like everybody else, they would do a bit of cooking and a bit of clothes washing. They weren't very dedicated to the job of cooking and clothes washing.
You said you're homeless, then where do you sleep?
Never the same place 2 nights in a row, because you can then be targeted.
Okay.
Sounds
like a difficult time.
Death is better than being targeted. And staying in one place. If I stay in one place, I get prosecuted.
Okay.
Because I'm severely antisocial. I have a lot of seizures, which people find very offensive.
That's due to your brain injury. What happened? How did you get a brain injury?
I was found in a coma with malaria. And
okay.
Yeah. And so, if I try and stay in a place on my own, because I don't wash myself, I deteriorate to the point that I end up with skin infections and blood poisoning. And if I cannot stay with other people because I don't sleep at night and I make a lot of noise, screaming and shouting, and keep everybody awake. I'm so noisy I can even keep people who are half deaf awake.
Sounds like you have a lot of things to deal with at the moment.
Yeah. So I just have to isolate myself and not have much contact with people.
And how does that make you feel?
Then people can't attack me, and I have less seizures.
Do you find it difficult not having people around you, though?
No, I find it easier because I have less seizures.
Okay. Are you on any medication for those?
No, they can't. The treatment is to isolate myself because the seizures cannot be treated with medication. So 20 years ago, in 2005, I was instructed to live in isolation.
Right. And when did the brain injury happen, sorry?
1990.
Oh, it was a long time ago then.
It was June 1990. Because I know that because in those days I had a book, and people used to write down their phone numbers on it and give it to me, and I'd stick them in the book. And on when I came out of the coma in the hospital, there was a nurse called Ella Kesiedu, and she wrote down her phone number and the actual date. So I know that was a date that I was in the hospital. I think I was there for 3 days.
Okay.
But about a week later, I started having behavioral problems.
Right.
That's when I lost my mental capacity and my ability to be a human being.
You sound sound like you're a human being.
I know, maybe in some ways, but to a lot of people, they haven't got the time to speak to me.
No.
For example, um, before I spoke to you, I phoned the Samaritans twice this evening, and the people that I spoke to, they sounded like older than you, like in their 30s or 40s, and
Yeah.
the first person put the phone down after 17 minutes, and the other one after 20 minutes, and they had. I know the second one. I was trying to explain to them about my wheelchair, and that the police attacked me when I went to the factory to get the wheelchair fixed, and then that for some reason that caused the it caused that particular Samaritan volunteer to have to put the phone down on me. And I don't know, maybe they are a factory owner or a police officer or something like that, so they took it personally. I don't know what it was. And then the person who put the phone down after 17 minutes, I was trying to explain to them that when my children were taken away and deported and sent to a country without a home, and they were raped. And then when I tried to explain that, then they put the phone down on me. When I had to explain extremely emotional and poignant part of my story, that's when they just gave up on me.
Okay. I'm sorry, that does sound like a difficult thing to have happened.
So there's a lot of people that cannot tolerate speaking to people with brain injuries because of what happens to them. And I think that when I try to explain my situation, that because I'm a vulnerable person and I get abused by the government because of that, I think for some reason that criticizing the government is very hurtful for them, and that's why they put the phone down. I cannot understand why those two Samaritan volunteers did that. Because protecting my children from being raped and getting emergency medical treatment are extremely important things for me. Yet when I tried to explain it to those particular volunteers, they gave up on me and put the phone down.
Yeah. How old are your children now?
My children are between the ages of 1 and 45.
Right, okay. How old are you then?
I'm 62.
Okay.
And I phone the Samaritans because I'm trying to defend myself against the police prosecuting me for, in my mind, for being disabled and trying to get my wheelchair fixed. In their mind, they prosecute me because they are very officious and they get called out too many times for very frivolous reasons. And instead of punishing the person who called the police out and saying that why are you wasting our time, is just a disabled person trying to fix his wheelchair, their job is to proverbially stamp on the head of a disabled person in a medical crisis trying to get his wheelchair fixed. That's how they prevent themselves being called out in the middle of the night for frivolous things when they should be called out for something much more important.
Is somebody sorting your wheelchair now, though? You did mention that somebody had it.
I took it to a man called Rob. But the problem with my wheelchair is that I've taken it to many factories to get the job finished, and most of these people make promises and they never do any work on it. I don't know what Rob's going to do, but I'm going to phone him up tomorrow morning, and my plan is to phone him up every week and ask him how things are going, because the last person who did the work on it didn't speak any English, and so I couldn't like phone them up and have a chat and remind them. Everything just had to be like I tried to do monthly messages on the WhatsApp and translate the stories into his language. So at least Rob's an English speaker, or a Scottish gentleman.
Hopefully you can get it sorted then.
Yeah.
Is
But
there anything else you need to talk about tonight?
yeah, did I tell you that I shouldn't be prosecuted because if there are debts with the bailiff, they would break into my deputy's home and steal all their property. So that works against me living in a dwelling and having electric supply, so that I can use the electrical wheelchair prescription that was provided in 2019. Did I mention that?
Yeah, you did mention that, yeah.
Yeah, that's important. So I think I just really said everything, I hope. And just that for people who've got my kind of brain injury, which is not traumatic, it's a neurological brain injury, that there aren't any services available, really. I mean, I have worked for 15 years to get a deputy, and the social workers didn't even know what a deputy was.
Right. Are you under a social worker at the moment?
Probably, but I wouldn't be aware who they are.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I can't communicate with those people because of my brain injury. I might meet them once, and I would go to the council and send some reminders, and it would just annoy them, and they would just disappear. So either they would disappear or I would disappear, and the relationship would just break down, because they're not trained to support people who've got a brain injury whereby communicating about important things causes seizures. So I tend to just not communicate because I don't want the seizures. And then they think, well, he hasn't communicated with me, he doesn't need my help. So they're not aware of what they have to do to communicate with somebody with my type of brain injury. And they lack that kind of training.
Sounds like everything is quite difficult for you and a little bit of a challenge.
I appreciate you speaking to me, and if I've forgotten to say something, I don't know. That's it then. Thank you.
Thank you.
What was your name again? What was your name again, please?
Claire.
Thank you for your help, Claire. Thank you for listening to me. I
hope
I can do something with this conversation to
hopefully you'll feel a little bit better.
Yeah, and that to see things more clearly.
Hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire.
Bye.
Bye.